Okay, so today we're gonna dive into something a little different.
Right.
We've had this interesting premise um, come through, and it's
Yeah.
really about contrasting work cultures and lifestyles in two different Indian cities.
Okay.
And these cities are Bangalore and Noida.
Mm.
And uh, and what makes this even more interesting is the perspectives that we have.
Right.
We have someone who's actually lived in Delhi, then moved to Bangalore, and now has moved back to Noida.
Oh, wow.
And that's yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have another perspective from a Bangalore native who has also spent time in Noida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So our mission today really is to kind of go beyond the surface level comparisons, when
Right.
you think about these two cities,
Yeah.
and really try to understand what are the core differences, and maybe even more importantly, what are the unique appeals of these two major Indian urban centers from people who've actually lived and worked there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we're going beyond just kind of, the quick comparisons and really trying to get into the experience of what it's like to live in these places.
Yeah, and I think what makes this so valuable is we have these firsthand accounts from people who've actually experienced it, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not just like some, theoretical comparison. We're
Yeah.
looking at the nitty-gritty of like, okay, what's it actually like to work in these cities?
Yeah.
How does the daily grind differ?
Yeah.
How's the weekend vibe?
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this so exciting to dive into
Absolutely.
and really understand, maybe even why these cities have developed the way they have
Exactly.
based on, the culture and the kind of work that's happening there.
So let's jump right into it. And
Yeah.
maybe the first and most obvious place to start is work culture,
Right.
right? And from your conversation, it seemed like a very clear contrast emerged in the overall rhythm of work life between these two cities. So it sounded like Bangalore was perceived as having a much more relaxed approach to work,
Yeah.
where the weekend mentality seemed to kick in really early.
Right.
You even mentioned your friend Aryan, kind of half jokingly referred to Bangaloreans as work-life balance ke bhagwan.
Yeah, he did. He did.
So what were some of the specific nuances that led to this perception of Bangalore having this more relaxed work culture?
Well, I think the biggest thing that stood out was that shift as soon as Friday arrives in Bangalore.
Mm,
The whole conversation immediately turns to weekend plans.
okay.
It's like, where are we going? What are we doing?
Oh, okay.
And it's almost like a collective sigh of relief.
Yeah.
And this really contrasts sharply with what I observed in Noida, where Friday often feels like, the final push to get things done.
Okay.
Sometimes you're working late into the night, you have client calls, or you're just wrapping up pending tasks.
Right. Right. And you even made the point that in Delhi NCR,
Yeah.
the real weekend sometimes bleeds into Sunday night
Yep.
because you're trying to finish everything up before Monday morning.
Because you're like, okay, got to get a head start on the week,
Right, right.
right? And so that whole difference in the weekly cycle is really fascinating.
Hmm.
It makes you wonder if it's the industries that are dominant in each city that are setting this pace.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely felt that way to me. I remember those Friday evenings in Bangalore,
Yeah.
had this completely different energy.
Yeah.
The conversation wasn't about, looming deadlines or anything. It was about, okay, what new cafe are we trying? What brewery are we checking out?
Right.
Or just relaxing.
It's chilling out.
Yeah. And in Noida, it always felt like there was this lingering sense of, okay, what else needs to be done
Right, exactly.
before I can truly relax? And Aryan even joked about this.
I did.
She said, the question on a Friday evening in Bangalore is like, bro, weekend plan, kya hai?
Yeah.
And in Noida, it's more like, by client call, high 10 bajat ko.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like the weekends at a different time in each city.
It's like the weekend's at a different time, and it's not just about, the transition to the weekend. I think it's embedded in the daily work ethic, too.
Well, interesting.
That Chodnayar Kal Lenj attitude that you mentioned observing in Bangalore
Yeah.
versus the Kal Tako Jana Chahi urgency that you see in Noida
Right.
really suggests that there are these underlying differences in the level of pressure
Yeah.
and maybe even different approaches to how tasks are managed.
Hmm.
And even the anecdote about someone leaving at 6 p.m. in Noida raising eyebrows,
Oh, yeah.
that really highlighted the expectations around work hours.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, is it the cost of living or the competitive job market in Noida that's contributing to this feeling of constant urgency?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe the pressure in Noida comes from just a more intense level of competition.
Possibly.
Whereas in Bangalore, with its established tech scene, there might just be a little bit more breathing room.
A bit more space.
Yeah, but, here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
It's not just the work cultures that are different,
Right.
but the daily experience of just navigating life in these cities.
Yes.
That also throws up its own set of unique challenges.
Absolutely. And I think when we connect this to the bigger picture of daily life, we see that the main sources of stress are completely different in each city.
Yeah.
So in Bangalore, Aryan was really emphasizing how traffic congestion is the overwhelming issue.
Okay.
It's not just an inconvenience. It actually becomes a major drain on your time and energy, sometimes even more so than the work itself.
Yeah.
And, he had this really powerful example of his commute between Indianagar and Electronic City taking so long
Oh, yeah.
that he felt like he could have completed 2 meetings in that time.
Wow.
And that really makes you think about, the economic impact of all this lost productivity.
Oh, the Bangalore traffic is legendary. And yeah, not in a good way. I definitely have memories of, underestimating travel times by like huge margins.
Yeah.
And just feeling my stress levels rise with every single red light.
And then Aryan had this dark humor about it.
Yeah.
He was saying that maybe Google Maps should start warning people about delayed promotions due to traffic.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny because it's so true.
It's funny because it's so real.
Yeah, it's like, is it the infrastructure planning that hasn't quite kept pace with the city's growth?
Yeah. Is it, are they just not prepared for the volume of people?
Right.
But then on the flip side, in Noida, the primary battle seems to be pollution.
Okay.
It's this constant awareness of the air quality and the feeling that, if you go outside without a mask, you're basically taking a health risk.
Right.
It's like a different kind of daily anxiety.
Mm.
And this was compared to, maybe the kind of casual attitude someone might have towards claiming health insurance.
Oh, wow.
Which really highlights how pervasive this concern is. It's a constant thought in your mind.
Right. It's like your body is facing a different kind of assault in each city.
It is. It really is.
And Aryan put it so well. He said, Bangalore's lungs suffer from traffic fumes, while Noida's struggle with airborne pollutants.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And in both cases, just surviving the day-to-day requires a certain level of resilience.
It does. It does.
And it makes you wonder if these environmental factors are also subtly influencing people's mood and lifestyle choices in each city.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely plays a role.
Yeah. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the kind of the economic engines that drive these urban centers.
Right.
Because they project very different identities, don't
Yes, they do. They do.
So Bangalore,
Yeah.
it's known as a technology and startup hub.
Right.
And that identity is so strong.
Yes. Very strong.
And as Aryan mentioned, it's like everywhere you turn, you encounter someone with a groundbreaking idea.
Yeah.
And venture capital backing.
Right. It's like you can't walk down the street without overhearing a conversation about funding rounds.
Yeah.
And, the latest disruptive technology.
Yeah, and it's a palpable energy in the city.
It is.
It's like innovation is woven into the fabric of Bangalore.
It really is.
And then you contrast that with Noida.
Yes.
Which has this more established corporate landscape.
Right.
It's predominantly associated with multinational companies, manufacturing, and a more traditional focus on salary packages,
right.
Job security, established career paths.
Very different.
Yeah, and this difference in focus likely shapes, the aspirations and priorities of the workforce in each city.
Oh, absolutely.
And Aryan kind of summed it up in this really simple equation.
Okay.
He said Bangalore equals coding filter, coffee, and startups.
Yeah.
Whereas Noida suits corporate meetings and the Cyber Hub weekend scene.
Right, which is interesting because Cyber Hub is actually in Gurgaon.
Yeah, it's right on the border.
Right on the border.
But yeah, it's almost like a shorthand for two very different professional and social ecosystems.
Absolutely. And it makes you think about the kind of talent that gravitates towards each city.
Right.
And the career trajectories that people are pursuing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this fundamental difference in economic activity also undoubtedly shapes the lifestyle and leisure pursuits that are prominent in each city.
I agree.
All right, so Bangalore is known for its cafe culture.
It is legendary cafe culture.
And the rise of third wave coffee.
Yeah.
It's not just about the beverage itself.
Right.
It's about the social spaces that these cafes provide.
It's about the atmosphere.
Yeah, you see people working remotely, holding informal meetings,
Mm-hmm.
just socializing in these vibrant,
Right.
often independent establishments.
Right.
And it speaks to this more flexible,
Yeah,
maybe community-oriented lifestyle.
definitely.
Um, Whereas Noida, it seems to gravitate more towards a mall-centric culture. The queues outside Starbucks in malls
Mm-hmm.
become this kind of symbolic representation
Yeah.
of leisure activities that
Yeah.
often revolve around,
Right.
structured retail and entertainment environments.
Yeah, it's a very different kind of social interaction.
Yeah.
It's more about consumption
Yeah.
and less about those kind of organic gatherings.
Yeah, and even the nightlife offers another really clear distinction.
Right.
So Bangalore's nightlife is lively, but it tends to wind down relatively early,
Yeah.
often around 11 p.m.
Around 11 p.m.
And Aryan had this hilarious take on it.
He did.
He was talking about how it's like the DJ gets scolded by his mother after 11.
Exactly.
It's like this citywide curfew,
Yeah.
whether it's formal or informal.
Right.
But it makes you wonder about the regulations
Yeah.
and the social norms,
It's a social fabric.
yeah, that contribute to this kind of early into the night.
Yeah, and this is a very noticeable contrast to Noida, where the nightlife scene really starts to pick up later, maybe
Yeah.
because of its proximity to Gurgaon,
So-
which has a much more extended nightlife.
Right.
So it's like there's this spillover effect.
Yeah, and this difference in nightlife probably reflects, varying social rhythms
Yeah.
and maybe even different demographics with different expectations for what they want to do.
It's exactly. Different crowds, different vibes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even when it comes to weekend getaways, the preferences seem to differ.
Interesting.
So Bangalore residents are more inclined to escape to places like Goa or Gokarna,
Right.
and sometimes they'll even squeeze in, short midweek trips,
Oh, wow.
embracing that work from Goa ethos.
The work from Goa ethos.
Yeah. Whereas in the Delhi NCR region,
Yeah.
the weekend often involves shorter commutes between Noida and Gurgaon,
Right?
suggesting maybe less opportunity or maybe even less inclination to do these longer getaways.
Yeah, maybe they're just content with, a shorter trip.
Yeah, so if we kind of synthesize all of these firsthand accounts,
Yeah.
what emerges as the core appeal of each city?
All right, what's the essence? What are they offering?
Yeah, what are they offering based on, these lived experiences?
Right.
So from what Aryan was saying, and aligning that with my own observations,
Yeah.
it seems like Bangalore is best suited for those who prioritize a more laid-back pace of life
Okay.
and are really drawn to the dynamism and the potential of the startup world.
Yeah.
It's for people who want a certain level of chill amidst the urban hustle.
Right, who want that balance.
Yeah. And Noida, on the other hand, seems to be a better fit for individuals who are really focused on corporate career progression
Okay.
and thrive in a faster-paced, more structured environment
Yeah.
where there's this strong emphasis on, professional achievement.
Right, climbing that ladder.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
and as Aryan put it, ultimately each city cultivates its own distinct scene.
It does, it
The
does.
key is figuring out which of these scenes resonates most with your personal and professional aspirations.
Exactly. It's about finding the right fit for you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap the key contrasts that we've highlighted today.
Okay, sounds good.
So we explored the different tempos of work,
Yeah.
Bangalore's more relaxed cadence versus Noida's heightened urgency.
Right. Two different speeds.
We examined the primary daily challenges,
Right.
traffic versus pollution,
And those daily battles.
and the distinct economic landscapes, startup hub versus corporate center.
Two very different worlds.
And finally, we touched on the diverging lifestyle and leisure preferences.
Yes.
From cafe culture to mall culture,
Right.
earlier nights to later ones.
It's fascinating how these differences play out.
Yeah, and what's clear from all these firsthand perspectives
Yeah.
is that both Bangalore and Noida offer unique sets of strengths and attraction.
Absolutely.
Neither city is definitively superior.
Right.
They just cater to different priorities and preferences
Yeah.
in how people choose to live and work.
Different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this brings us to our final question for you, our listener. Reflecting on these insights into the contrasting rhythms and the overall vibes of Bangalore and Noida,
Yeah.
which city's energy and lifestyle resonate more deeply with you?
Hmm.
And more importantly, why?
Yeah.
What specific aspects of work-life balance and urban living are you prioritizing in your own life?
That's a great question.
And maybe considering these differences will offer you a new lens through which to evaluate your own choices and aspirations.
I think so.
Yeah, so think about it and let us know.
Yeah, let us know what resonates with you.
All right, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been fun.
Yeah, fascinating conversation.
And we'll catch you next time.
See you later. Bye.